A peanut sat on the railroad track. A peanut sat on the railroad track. His heart was all aflutter. Along came a train, the 9:15. Toot toot, peanut butter! The Man in the Moon. The Man in the Moon came tumbling down and asked his way to Norwich. He went by the south and burned his mouth by eating cold peas porridge. Curly locks, curly locks, wilt thou be mine? Thou shalt not wash dishes nor yet feed the swine, but sit on a cushion and sew a fine seam, and feed upon strawberries, sugar, and cream. Michael Finnegan. There was an old man named Michael Finnegan. He grew whiskers on his chin again. The wind came out and blew them in again. Poor old Michael Finnegan begin again. Old Betty Blue. Old Betty Blue lost a holiday shoe. What can old Betty do? Give her another to match the other, and then she may swagger in too. Little Nancy Etticoat. Little Nancy Etticoat in a white petticoat and a red rose. The longer she stands, the shorter she grows. What is she? A candle. Thumbelina. There was once a poor woman who lived alone in a small cottage. She longed to have a child, so one day she visited a fairy to ask for her help. "You are a kind and good woman," said the fairy, "so I will give you this magic seed. Plant it, water it, and you will see what you will see." The woman thanked the fairy and did as she was told. Soon a flower bud appeared, with glossy pink petals wrapped tightly around its centre. "What a beautiful flower you will be," smiled the woman. As she bent to kiss the flower, its petals unfolded, and in the centre was a beautiful girl, the size of a thumb. The woman was overjoyed. "I will call you Thumbelina," she cried, and she laid her new child in a walnut shell bed with a rose petal quilt. Thumbelina and her mother were very happy. Then one day, while her mother was away, an ugly, slimy toad crawled into the cottage and took Thumbelina while she slept. When she woke up, Thumbelina found herself on a lily pad in the middle of a stream, with two warty toads staring at her. "This is your new wife," the mother toad told her warty son. "But I don't want to marry a toad," Thumbelina sobbed. "I just want to go home." "You ungrateful girl," the mother toad scolded her. "You'll stay here until you stop crying." And the two toads swam away. Thumbelina sobbed and sobbed until a fish took pity on her and nibbled through the lily pad stem. It floated free, and Thumbelina sailed away, gently floating downstream. At last she drifted to the riverbank and climbed onto dry land. All that summer, Thumbelina lived in the countryside. She missed her mother terribly, but she busied herself making friends with the birds and small creatures she met. Then winter came. Thumbelina was cold and hungry. Luckily, a kindly field mouse invited her to stay with him in his burrow. She was so grateful that she said yes at once. Life underground was warm and snug, but Thumbelina missed the sunshine. And then Mouse's friend Mole asked her to marry him. "But I don't want to marry a mole," cried Thumbelina. "You ungrateful girl," said the mouse. So Thumbelina sadly agreed to marry the mole, and a date was set for the following summer. Thumbelina was miserable. Then one day, as she walked through the underground tunnels, she found a swallow, almost dead with the cold. She hugged the bird against herself to warm him. He slowly opened his eyes. "You have saved my life," said the swallow. "Come with me to the south, to the land of sunshine and flowers." "I cannot leave Mouse," sighed Thumbelina. "He has been so kind to me." "Then I must go alone," said the swallow. "But I will return next summer. Goodbye." Then he flew away. Finally, the day Thumbelina had been dreading arrived, the day she would marry Mole. As she waited for Mole to arrive, the swallow appeared again. "Come with me now," he cried. This time Thumbelina said, "I will." So Thumbelina flew away to the south with the swallow, to a land full of flowers. As she bent to smell one especially beautiful flower, the petals opened, and there in the centre was a fairy prince, no bigger than a thumb, with butterfly wings. "Will you be my wife?" he asked at once. "I will," cried Thumbelina. So Thumbelina married the fairy prince and became queen of the flower fairies. She did not forget her dear mother, and arranged for fairy messengers to deliver a letter to her with a bouquet of beautiful flowers. Thumbelina and her handsome prince lived happily ever after. Pansy Pig. Mrs. Pig had 5 beautiful piglets, but from the moment they were born they were trouble. There was Percy, who loved to stick his little pink snout into everything, Pickle, who was always getting lost, Poppy and Pippa, who tried to eat the strangest things, and Pansy. She wasn't that naughty, but somehow she got into more trouble than all the other 4 piglets put together. The thing is, Pansy's brothers and sisters all looked so alike. They were pink all over, and Mrs. Pig found it very hard to tell them apart. But Pansy was different. She was pink with a brown pansy-shaped mark on her bottom. So whenever the piglets were up to no good, Mrs. Pig could always spot Pansy. "No, Pansy, stop being so naughty," Mrs. Pig would yell. Poor Pansy. Her brown patch gave her away every time. "It's not fair," she snorted. "I always get the blame just because Mummy can tell me apart." Then one rainy day, the 5 little piglets were playing on the muddy bank by the pond. They skidded and slipped, they splished and splashed, and soon they were covered with mud from their ears to their trotters. When Mrs. Pig found the messy piglets, she wasn't happy. "Pansy!" she shouted, without thinking. But Pansy's familiar little mark on her bottom was nowhere to be seen. Mrs. Pig started to giggle. Then she burst out laughing, and she jumped into the mud with a big splat. "I love getting muddy," squealed Pansy Pig. "Me too," chortled Mrs. Pig. "Oh, Pansy, is that you? You look just like your brothers and sisters today." And for once Pansy didn't get the blame. She was just a muddy little piglet like the others. Bunnies all come out to play. Bunnies all come out to play in the sunshine of the day. They bounce and run and hop around until they hear a scary sound. At first they freeze, then off they bound and dart away beneath the ground. The seesaw. You go up and I go down, but then we switch it all around. Now you go down and I go high, high enough to touch the sky. This little piggy. This little piggy went to market, and this little piggy stayed home. This little piggy had roast beef, and this little piggy had none. And this little piggy cried, "Wee, wee, 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 wee," all the way home. Dickery Dare. Dickery, dickery, dare, the pig flew up in the air. The man in brown soon brought him down, dickery, dickery, dare. To market, to market. To market, to buy a fat pig. Home again, jiggity jig. To market, to buy a fat hog. Home again, jiggity jog. To market, to buy a plum cake. Home again, market is late. To market, to buy a plum bum. Home again, market is done. The Golden Goose. There was once a poor boy named Billy, who lived with his family at the edge of a forest. One day when he was cutting wood, an old man approached him. "Could I please share some of your food?" the man asked. "Of course," said Billy, although he barely even had enough food for himself. "Thank you," said the old man. "You shall be rewarded. Cut down that tree over there and see what's inside it." So he did. Hidden inside the tree trunk was a goose with golden feathers. Puzzled, Billy looked around for the old man, but he had mysteriously vanished. It was getting too dark to walk home, so Billy picked up the goose and took it with him to an inn. The innkeeper's 3 daughters were fascinated by the goose's golden feathers, but when the eldest girl tried to take one, she stuck fast to the goose. As the sisters tried to pull her away, they all got stuck to each other. The next morning, Billy set off down the street with the golden goose, dragging the girls behind him. When other people saw the strange scene, they tried to pull the girls free, only to become stuck too. Meanwhile, the king had a daughter who had never laughed. The king was so desperate to cheer her up that he had promised her hand in marriage to anyone who could make her happy. When the princess looked out of her palace window that day, she saw Billy walking along the street carrying a golden goose with a line of people staggering behind. The princess laughed and laughed. The king was delighted. "You made the princess laugh," he told Billy. "That means you may marry her." "Me?" Billy cried, just as the goose jumped from his arms. All the people toppled backwards, unstuck, and the princess laughed again. So Billy and the princess soon married, and they lived long, happy lives full of laughter. The Queen of Hearts. The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all on a summer's day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole the tarts and took them all away. The King of Hearts called for the tarts and beat the knave full sore. The Knave of Hearts brought back the tarts and vowed he'd steal no more. Simple Simon. Simple Simon met a pieman going to the fair. Said Simple Simon to the pieman, "Let me taste your ware." Said the pieman to Simple Simon, "Show me first your penny." Said Simple Simon to the pieman, "Indeed I have not any." Jelly on the plate. Jelly on the plate, jelly on the plate. Wibble wobble, jelly on the plate.